we start in 4-point kneeling. Let me just run through the different 4-point kneeling points that you have to think about. You have got your hip above your knee, and you've got your feet and knees hip width apart. So if I look between my knees, I can't see my feet, so they're not slightly in and they're not slightly out, they're directly in line. My pelvis is in neutral, so it's not arched and it's not dipped. So again, you've just got a little pool here, enough to put a tablespoonful of water in. My back is nice and long, my wrists are below my shoulders, and I'm not sinking into my wrists, I'm reaching away using all my body and using my core as well. So keeping my tummy pulled in. My fingers are wide, so I'm spreading the load through my hands, and my neck isn't dropped down or it's not lifted up. So keep my neck in line with my spine. So I'm going to run through the full cat and then we'll break it down. So take a breath in. As you breathe out, you pull in your core, you tuck your pelvis around, isolate the pelvis, and then work from the base of the spine all the way up to the top, bringing the spine up to the ceiling, and your neck and head drop down to look between your knees. You stay here, take a breath in, getting a really good stretch into your back, and then you start from the pelvis. Get the pelvis back into neutral, lengthen through the spine, vertebra by vertebra, from the base of the spine up to the top, and then the neck lengthens away from the shoulders last. I'll show you again. Take a breath in, breathe out, pull in the core, isolate the pelvis, tuck the pelvis around, and then the rest of the spine comes up to the ceiling, and then you drop your head and neck to look between your arms. Now from here, my hip should still be directly above the knees. I haven't come forward or I haven't gone behind. And then from here, I'm keeping the hip above the knee. I start from the pelvis, I work along the spine, ending with my neck and my head. So this is a very good movement for opening out the lower back. So if you find that you're just bringing everything up in one go, then let's just work isolating the pelvis. So it takes a lot of work for a little bit of movement. So you pull in your tummy, you tuck the pelvis around. So nothing has changed in my rib cage. I'm keeping my rib cage where it is, and then I'll come back to neutral. So just try, what we call this the kitten sometimes, just to see if you can get that pelvis to move without anything else changing in the rest of your spine. So I'm just working from here downwards, so I'm not arching my back in any way. So pulling in the tummy, tuck the pelvis around, and then back to neutral. Once you can isolate that, then we'll go into the full cat. So always start with the pelvis and end with the head. So take a breath in, breathe out, pull in your tummy, isolate that pelvis as you start. Once you've isolated the pelvis, then you can bring the rest of the spine up, starting from the bottom, working up. So keep your focus running along through your spine, and then you drop your head. Now here, I haven't brought my shoulders up to my ears, and I'm really reaching away from my wrist to get a really good stretch in all the way in my back here. My tummy is pulled in, and then I keep my head where it is. I start from the pelvis, keeping the hip above the knee, lengthen through the spine, and I come back to my starting position. Now you can then take this into extension. So you'd carry on sticking your bottom to the back wall, and you can bring your neck and head up to look at the front. Now again, my shoulders have stayed away from my ears. I haven't started scrunching them up, and I'm not dipping in here, otherwise that would put a strain on my lower back. But I'm thinking of my two sit bones here, these two bony bits of my buttocks, lengthening away to the wall behind me, and I'm stretching my spine away from my pelvis. I'm really lengthening my spine to bring my neck and my head up. So I'm also now getting a stretch through the front of my throat, which is also part of the top of the spine. And then from here, I'm going to isolate that pelvis, keeping the head up, and then I work from the base of the spine all the way up to the top, ending with my head. So I'll do that once more, going into extension. So starting from the pelvis, lengthening through the spine, and then continue to lengthen your sit bones to the back wall as you bring your neck and head up between your arms. Stay here as you breathe. Take a breath in and breathe out, and you isolate the pelvis, working through the spine, following in my mind's eye along my spine, ending here. Breathe in to get a good stretch. Breathe out, starting from the pelvis. And you start to get this lovely ripple effect running up your spine, getting a really good stretch, and just really feel that you're opening out your whole spine, all the way from the pelvis, opening out that lower back, getting a good stretch into your back here as you reach away from your wrists. And then when you've finished, you just come back to your neutral position, not into extension. So that is the cat, and it's a lovely exercise for opening out your lower back. So you can just do that first bit, the kitten, and then once you've isolated that lower back, then work into the full cat.